I remember when this was all farmland as far as the eye could see. Old man Peabody owned all of this. He had this crazy idea about breeding pine trees.
You're listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
I kind of knew about Quentin Tarantino when I went and saw Pulp Fiction in the theater. I had seen Reservoir Dogs, and Reservoir Dogs did not get a major release. It was a limited release film, but it was readily available on home video because that's where it really exploded. And I knew that Tarantino was supposed to be this new guy. He was making these weird, he was writing these movies because he wrote Reservoir Dogs and directed Reservoir Dogs, but he also wrote True Romance, which was a Tony Scott film, and this movie Pulp Fiction people were talking about. So, you know me, I love going to the movies. Now, summer of 94, or 94 in general, was a watershed year for quality films. In that one year, we got Pulp Fiction, Lion King, Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump, a lot of big, popular movies that have lasted a long time. But going in to see Pulp Fiction was unlike any movie-going experience anybody had had at that point. It's weird to see movies that are so different and so challenge what you think a movie is supposed to be and just blows you out of the theater. I didn't see Shawshank in the theaters either. I saw Shawshank on home video as well, and that's a whole nother experience. But there was something about Pulp Fiction that was so visceral and so new. Sure, it was the characters, the setting, Los Angeles, this seedy underground of, there's a crime lord, Marcellus Wallace is this crime lord who rules over these hitmen, and there's a magic case, and Butch is paid to throw a fight, but he doesn't, so he's on the run, and everybody's out to get him, and who's going to make it out alive? But it's told non-linear, which just, when Travolta's character, Vincent Vega, gets shot in the apartment, it is a shocking moment in the film. Because according to the poster, he's the star of the movie, and he's already dead. Well, we don't know, or we don't remember, that he's in this diner scene at the beginning, and they're going to go back to it. And that really just sets the movie apart, because knowing the end of something is supposed to make you, like, we always hear about spoilers. Oh, don't spoil the movie for me, or it'll ruin it for me. But there are times when knowing what's coming sets you up for a completely different emotion watching the film. When you go to see Titanic, that ship is going down. That's the movie. What you didn't know was how you were going to fall in love with Rose and Jack and wonder who's going to make it out alive, because we know that ship's going. And when you're watching the diner scene at the end of Pulp Fiction, and Vincent Vega and Jules Winfield are thwarting the robbers, Honey Bunny, you know that it's a moment of triumph when they walk out alive, but you're also, Vincent's not long for this world. He's about to walk to the bar, get in a little spat with Butch, I ain't your friend, Palooka, and then he's going to be put eventually to Butch's apartment to watch for him, and that's where he meets his end. So it's a bittersweet scene because you know the ending. Now, if it had been done linear, they would have left the diner, the movie would have jumped to the bar scene, and then the fight scene, and then the aftermath, but it's told in that non-linear fashion, so it really grabs you because it's so different. Memento was the same way in some respects. And Pulp Fiction was such a watershed movie that for the next 5 years or longer after Pulp Fiction, a lot of movies tried to emulate what Pulp Fiction had done. There were so many Pulp Fiction ripoffs. 2 Days in the Valley, Suicide Kings, Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. A lot of these mob movies. And Tarantino made all these bizarre appearances in movies. And I went, because Pulp Fiction blew me away, so I wanted to follow this guy's career. So I went to the theater and saw Destiny Turns on the Radio. Like, terrible movies. There's another film, which I can't remember the title of, where Tarantino has a cameo as a guy at a party, and his only scene is he's trying to convince this guy that Top Gun is an analogy for being straight or gay, using Maverick and Iceman as straight and gay. It's very funny. It's some dating movie where he just shows up. But Tarantino was the toast of the town for a while, and there was thought of, how is he going to follow up Pulp Fiction? What's he going to do after? And we all know what he did after. He did a string of amazing movies. Jackie Brown, Kill Bill 1 and 2, Django Unchained. His movies are very well done. Some not so well done. I mean, if you've ever seen 4 Rooms, most of From Dusk Till Dawn, he's a very talented man. I was always jealous because he got his start at a video store, and I fancied myself but I never had aspirations of becoming a full-fledged filmmaker, so I never took those steps. And thankfully Tarantino did, so we get those movies. Pulp Fiction was such an important movie that Roger Ebert used to do a 2-day class where they went through the movie almost frame by frame and analyzed it. I would love to have sat through that. I mean, that wouldn't have bored me at all, with all the symbolism in the movie and Roger Ebert pointing it out and analyzing it. Well, that being said, and knowing the importance and the effect that Pulp Fiction had on movie making, it's no wonder that we're still chasing it. Everybody wants to be Tarantino. Everybody wants to make that movie that everybody quotes, again and again and again, And so we come to 2 movies about cults. This episode's not about movies with a cult following. It's about movies with cults in them, and how you do it right and how you do it bad. And I had the unfortunate circumstance to sit through a film called Bad Times at the El Royale. This is a dumb movie about a motel on the border between California and was it Utah? No, Nevada. And they can't be on the border of Utah, can they? It's on the border, and some of the rooms are here, some are there, and the motel is quirky, and all the characters are showing up one by one with their own bizarre backstories. And the movie fakes you out again and again with, they show you a scene and you think it's going one way, like they show you a woman who's been kidnapped and you think that somebody has to save her, and you find out that the person who kidnapped her is actually her sister, so she's doing it because she loves her, not for some nefarious reason. There's a singer, there's Jeff Bridges playing a priest, only he's not a priest, and there's a bellhop who's not a bellhop, and this movie is maddening because it thinks that if you set up a bunch of mysteries and don't pay them off, then somehow that makes you more mysterious. And no, it doesn't. It just makes the viewer frustrated because you're putting all these threads out, but you're not following them. So there's a lot of talk about the CIA and presidents staying there, and maybe they had an affair, and a secret tunnel that allows you to look into all the rooms as a pervert behind the mirror and record them, and who's keeping recordings on what, and what recordings do they have. But a movie with all this should be fun. And the one thing that the movie is not is, it's not any fun. It's a complete mess. And it makes the ultimate sin as far as bad storytelling. When I was in improv, there were very few rules in improv because you were just supposed to go out there and gonzo, go for it, open your brain, spill it out on the stage, sift through it, and find what's good. But there were things that were considered cop-outs. A character being on drugs who doesn't know what he's saying is a cop-out. A character who's drunk who doesn't know what he's saying is a cop-out. Why are you doing all these crazy things? Oh, I'm in a cult. That's a cop-out. And in the case of Bad Times at the El Royale, which is a fitting name for the experience I had watching said movie, everything is explained at the end through a stupid cult being led by Chris Hemsworth, Thor. So it's all very weird. You know, everybody's going to end up either dead or maimed, or they're not going to be able to fulfill whatever mission they had. It's a very frustrating, silly, expensive, waste of time movie. And watching, it's by Drew Goddard, who did Cloverleaf, and he did the remake of Let Me In, Let the Right One In, which is actually a pretty good movie. Drew Goddard's a good director. He has a good eye. You know, Cloverfield is a very flimsy premise for a film, and yet he sustains it, shaky cam and all, for 85 minutes or so. This one I couldn't wait for it to end. By the 3/4 mark, I didn't care what happened to any of it. By the time the cult showed up, I almost turned it off. What a stupid waste of time movie. And the sad part is the premise of the motel is really cool. It has an automat where you put your money in and get the food out, like in Dark City. I love all that. I love that signifies like lack of human interaction. I really enjoyed the premise of the movie. It looks stellar. The colors, the palette, the costumes, the look of the motel is all very well done. But it's hollow. It's an Easter bunny because they don't do anything with it other than that stupid cult. It's just too easy to have a character say, I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm with you. Now I'm not with you because I was always with the cult. Dumb, dumb, dumb. So do not watch Bad Times at the El Royale, because movies that feature cults are rarely well done. And of course, at this moment, I'm going to break that rule and talk about a movie I just saw that might be the best movie I have seen in years. And that's saying a lot. I watch a lot of movies. I love movies. When the movie starts, I'm ready to fall in love. I can't wait to see the story. I can't wait to see what happens in the movie. A lot of times you get disappointed, you know. Even a big event picture like Infinity War. Infinity War was good, but Endgame, it's kind of a mess. You know, they play with logic. They tell you to ignore rules that they've set down. I get all that. It's a big lumbering product movie. But every once in a while, a movie comes along that is so crisp and so well done that the minute it ended, I wanted to see it again. And that is Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh my God. If this is his last film, which he has sometimes said it might be, he's going out on top. This, as far as I'm concerned, is a Best Picture winner. Best Screenplay, Best Picture, Best Production Design, Best Cinematography. This is a stellar bit of storytelling. And I say that with the caveat that it's not really about anything. It's a slice of life of this Hollywood actor, Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and his stunt guy, Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt. The movie opens fun. You learn about this character, this Rick Dalton, and Cliff Booth, his stunt guy. You get that they're friends, that they've worked together a while, and that it's been a while since Rick had a good part. He's been reduced. He used to have his own show, and now he's been reduced to playing cameos on all these westerns, which I've read a lot of Hollywood bios, and that was a staple of how you kept your career going, was you guest starred on all these shows as the heavy. And Dalton fits that to a T. He plays them well, and he's about to be typecast as this bit player. And even Timothy Olyphant has a cameo where he says, "You're going to make my show better because they're going to watch me kick your ass." And you can see Dalton go, "What am I doing here, man?" This is... I can't stress to you how immersive this movie is. It takes place in 1969, and while I wasn't born until 71, and I wasn't cognizant of anything going around me for at least a decade after that, there's something so familiar and welcoming about the setting of this film. The Los Angeles, the Hollywood, the hills, the 1969 flavor. This is the most authentic I've ever seen it. And that includes films made in that time period. It really does, because I've seen movies from that era, and there's always a gloss to them where they're trying to make it fake. They're not showing you reality. And this one, which is fake, shows you the reality in a way I have never seen in a period film. It is stellar. When you watch an old Western or something from the turn of the century where everyone's in a period costume and a period car and the buildings are all period, you know that in between takes, they're off having a Coke and a smoke next to on their smartphones, and it's like just to the right and just to the left, modern day is creeping in. You just a lot of movies used to know that, or they're augmenting it with digital trickery, and it kind of looks fake, it kind of looks hazy. This movie has none of that. I couldn't detect, and you know what? I'm sure there are some anachronisms in there because I'm not like I said, I wasn't of the time. But for a novice like me, a non-time traveler, I felt like I was there. This movie transported me in a way it's hard to explain. You see Dalton on the set trying to do his part. You see Cliff Booth riding around town. The parts where he rides around town are just so exquisitely done. You can see a Jack Steffen van behind him at one point, and it's not in your face. That's just part of the landscape. Every car, every costume, every prop just looks like you're there. And it tells the story of these two guys who have a friendship that Dalton's trying to get his career back. He meets with Pacino playing this Hollywood agent, and they're trying to get him to star in spaghetti westerns following the trail of Clint Eastwood, who did the same thing. And Cliff drives around because Rick has some DUIs. They don't tell anybody that. You get to go to Rick's house in the Hollywood Hills, and Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski live just up on the hill right past him. And it's just this really nice, completely believable friendship between these two guys. You just get it. You just get it. And that's due to the amazing acting job that these two pull off. I don't know if they're real friends or not, but it certainly looked like it in the movie. This movie was so good. I know I keep saying that. But if you haven't seen it, I'm so jealous of you because I want to see it again for the first time. I'm going to watch it again because it's nearly 3 hours, but it didn't feel like it. When it ended, I was sad that it was coming to an end. So we flit around Hollywood and, Studio City, Burbank, the Hills, Bel Air, I guess, with these characters. You're on the set, you're off the set, you're at Rick's house, you're watching clips from Rick's movies. He's got a scene where he's learning how to shoot a flamethrower to kill Nazis in this movie. And I just felt so entranced by this movie. And it's got so many fun movie tropes where some movies pick one. The movie has a narrator. Okay, the movie has a narrator. This movie has a narrator. The movie has flashbacks. Okay, the movie has flashbacks. The movie has flashbacks within flashbacks. Okay, flashbacks within flashbacks. The movie has gimmicky cameos. Okay, this movie has all of that. It has a narrator. It has a flashback, and then it flashbacks within the flashback to show you Cliff's altercation with his wife that we don't really get the end of. And that's a situation where, unlike Bad Times at the El Royale, unresolved mysteries with Cliff and his wife make the movie better. Because one way or another, we would have had a definite feeling about Cliff. And as it is, you like the guy. He lives in a little trailer with his dog. You know, he has very little control in his life. Rick is the dominating personality. But when Cliff gets home, he has trained his dog to obey his every command. And him and the dog get along so well because they have this relationship. And it's a guy and his dog. And yet, so well done. You know, when Cliff goes to his dog, he's truly happy. And they cut back to Rick in his house, his beautiful house, 30 times as big as Cliff's trailer, and yet Rick's unhappy. He's trying to learn his lines for the big scene. He's a drunk. He's a screw-up. He's been coddled. He doesn't know how to get his crap together. And the next day at the movie set, the TV show set, he meets a young child actor who basically shows him how to get his S together. And it's, normally child actors are killer. And this movie throws everything that could be a detriment to a film and turns it into not only a positive, but a rocket positive. The little girl is astoundingly good. Her scene with Rick teaching him how to be a better actor is really good. And when she, at the end of it, gives him praise, you can see it in the trailer, Rick is taken by it because she means it and she has no cause to lie to him. She's not a Hollywood phony like everybody else he meets. And oh man, it's good. Even some of the weird cameos. There's a cameo by a popular actor from TV. He was in, I can't remember the name of the show. He plays a cop all the time. But he plays Steve McQueen. And I swear to God, I thought it was Steve McQueen. I thought it was digital trickery. But, Tarantino doesn't really employ that. He makes the actors work. He makes the set people work. He makes people work because it shows on the screen. They go to the Playboy Mansion, and it really is the Playboy Mansion. But it's the Playboy Mansion you remember from the magazine, from the persona, from the legend. Not what it denigrated to at the end. You see the grotto. You see Playboy bunnies. You see celebrities cameoing as, these Hollywood legends. Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate. And Tarantino does this amazing device. And the device is Rick's getting his crap together. Cliff is happy with his life. He's a stunt guy. He bests Bruce Lee in what could have been a really annoying scene, and it comes off as you dig it. You just dig it, man. It's so cool. And it's got Kurt Russell. It's got all these fun, amazing cameos, and it sets you up on this, like the title is so apropos, because you're on this Hollywood dream of what it's like to be an actor, what it's like to be a stuntman, what it's like to make enough money to hone your craft. DiCaprio's character has a recorder, he's got his lines, and he's rehearsing them while he's floating in a pool, and it's all very dreamlike. And through this dream flits the ghost of Sharon Tate, played by Margot Robbie. And she's the through line of the film, because we all know what happened to Sharon Tate. We all know how she meets her end. So watching this gorgeous woman move through this dream Hollywood of she's got a career going, she's got a house in the hills, and a record player playing music that she likes, and everybody loves her, and she's able to go to a movie theater and tell them, the movie playing, I'm in. I would like to see it. Oh, well, please go in. And she is this ethereal angel moving through the clouds of Hollywood. But the dark undertone is that we know how she meets her end. So the dreamlike quality is constantly being pummeled by the harsh nightmare of reality. And it does give the movie this incredible tone. Any doubts I ever had about Tarantino are gone. This guy is a master filmmaker. He convinced Hollywood Boulevard to convert itself to the way it was, all practical. When Cliff drives down the street, everything outside is to period. And it looks like it because it is. It's all there. And then Cliff runs across this gorgeous underage hitchhiker who's looking for a ride out to a movie studio ranch. And Cliff decides to take her there. And the freeway sequence with them is as these undertones, this sexual tension because she's offering favors and he knows she's underage and he's not going to do it because Cliff's a good guy. He's a really good guy. And when he goes out to the ranch and he meets the Manson family, he's not afraid of them at all. And instead, he wants to meet the owner of the ranch to find out if he's really letting these hippies hang out there for free. And when he finally uses his muscle to meet the owner, it's Bruce Dern in an amazing performance that was supposed to be Burt Reynolds, but he died right before the scene was filmed. And Dern's playing this blind old cowboy guy who's, again, he's happy with his lot. He just wants to be left alone. So Cliff leaves, finds out his tire has been slashed by the Manson family. So he proceeds to beat the crap out of this guy and make him change his tire. These are scenes that only Tarantino could have written and shot the way he did. They're so well done. You get such an adrenaline rush of getting back at the Manson family because you know, again, the dread hanging over is what they will eventually do. You only see Charlie Manson once. He's not a central figure. He's not glorified in any way. That's all very good. The movie has a lot of resemblance to Inglourious Basterds, and if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you have not seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you shouldn't be listening to this. You should stop here, go watch the movie, and then come back, because I'm about to spoil the ending, and it's an ending you don't want spoiled. So, bye. Anywho, for those of you that stayed, we cut to a time later. We cut to a time later where Rick has gone off to Italy to make the spaghetti westerns. He's got a wife, and he's coming back into town with 3 movies under his belt, a new relationship, and a new lease on life. And he tells Cliff that he has to stop paying him, that he's got enough money that if he gets a smaller house with his wife, they can live for the rest of their lives without ever having to work. And Cliff's okay with that because he had a good run. They're good friends, and it's okay that it ends, this business relationship, because the friendship will still be there. In any other movie, there would have been a big fight. That would have been the climax of the movie. They would have made up at the end, but that's not this movie. This movie is different in almost every way, and it's better for it. So they're going their separate ways after. They're going to get blind, stinking drunk. Then they're going to go their separate ways. So they go back to his place. They make margaritas. There's an altercation with the Manson family shows up. And they're about to go kill Sharon Tate. This is where history is leading us. We know it to be true because that's what happened. And like Inglourious Basterds, the movie says, we're not playing by those rules. We're going to play by our own rules. It's a movie. We don't have to be reality. By its definition, this movie is not reality. And that's where the movie excels. Now, I didn't like it in Inglourious Basterds. When they kill Hitler, I felt kind of cheated because I thought that the bastards were going to be taken down and it was going to be a cautionary tale of sometimes evil wins, even if eventually we get him. I need to go back and revisit that film, watch it a couple more times, because I do enjoy the performances in it. But my initial reaction was, well, it was the same reaction I had to Monty Python and the Holy Grail when they get arrested at the end and I got mad. I was naive. And I may be naive when it comes to Inglourious Bastards. But as far as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is concerned, when Rick chastises them and makes the Manson family rethink their plan, it gives time for Cliff to finish walking his dog and come back home to find the Manson family is now, they're going to kill Cliff, they're going to kill Rick because Rick represents the movies, and the movies is where they're going to say they learned all their violence. It's kind of the Scream motive excuse. So it's very tense, and there's a moment where you're not really sure how this movie's going to go. Are the characters that we like going to get killed? Is the innocent wife who just showed up in the movie going to get killed by the Manson family? Because did they alter reality enough that all they did was save Sharon Tate, this angel that floated through the movie? She will continue to live, and they will sacrifice themselves for it? Is that what's going to happen? Because if that's what's going to happen, the movie still would have been good. And instead, it becomes great. Instead, Cliff uses his dominance over his dog, not his dominance, that's a dumb word for it, his relationship with his dog, his trust to take out this guy. Just, it's so brutal. And then in a sequence that, for some people, it's going to be over the top. I talked to a couple of people who saw the movie, and they singled out the sequence where Cliff takes matters into his own hands as it was a little excessive. Cliff throws a dog food can at this woman's face, knocks her just silly, and then grabs her and pummels her face against the fireplace until there is no face. And I'll tell you what, knowing what the Manson family did to Sharon Tate and the people at that house, and that some of them are still alive in prison, still trying to get out, still trying to say, I've learned my lesson, and I didn't mean to stab a pregnant woman that many times. Knowing that, I took so much satisfaction from watching him pummel that woman that I took more than I care to admit. It was one of the most satisfying movie deaths I have ever seen. You ever watch a movie where the bad guy gets his comeuppance and you're just so, you take your fist and you go, yeah, yes! I was doing that. I was alone. I was watching the movie with headphones on, so I must have been yelling because people came in and are like, what are you doing? I go, I'm watching a movie. I'm sorry. I talked really loud because I had headphones on. But I was so freaking happy when those people the dog took one out, and then he took her out, and then the third member of the family, the Manson family, she runs into Rick, who leaves and comes back with, of all things, the flamethrower that we saw in the beginning of the movie. And he toasts this woman. Oh my God. This was such an exciting, satisfying conclusion to this movie. I can't even begin to tell you how much I enjoyed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is a rave review. The sheer immersion of the film. You know, people said, Avatar was a fully realized immersive world. Well, that's because you don't know Pandora. Whatever they present to you is reality. And your brain goes, whoa, it's something new. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's easy. What's more difficult is to present a movie like this where the reality is something you're familiar with and see every day, and yet you buy it completely. Every radio snippet, every song, the TV, it ends, they're watching Seymour, the horror movie host, on the TV. I didn't even know color footage like that existed. And they're using KHJ. I grew up watching KHJ before it became KCAL in the late 80s. KHJ was where I watched Elvira every week. And I watched John Biner in Bizarre and Benny Hill. And so the Manson family gets taken out. They don't murder Sharon Tate. History is altered. And the movie ends, and it's just this glorious celebration of the good guys winning in a situation where we were all led to believe that they would not win. What a fun, fulfilling, satisfying movie. I can't wait to get the Blu-ray and absorb every single extra on it. I cannot recommend this movie more. When Oscar time comes around, there's not a film that will be released that will compete with it. It probably won't win because they always give it to these art house movies that nobody sees, and this one actually made quite a bit of money. It got a standing ovation at Cannes, deserved every bit of it. If I saw it in a theater, I wouldn't have moved till the credits ended. I usually stay for the credits anyways, but this one would have had me riveted just thinking about what I had just seen. If they re-release it for an Oscar campaign, I will go see it in the theater. I can't wait. Oh, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is how you do cult movies right. This is how you take every trope that shouldn't work, put it in a blender, and come out with a masterpiece. My arms bowed, my head bowed to Quentin Tarantino. Master of cinema. Fantastic movie. Have I raved enough? Have I raved enough? What a great movie. So, thanks for your patience with these episodes. Just so you know, I got my sense of taste back, which is great. I was at work the other day, and I had garlic pasta because I thought that's gonna have the strongest taste there. And when I put it in my mouth, I actually tasted garlic, and it was. You ever seen Pleasantville when the black and white world starts turning color? That's what it felt like. You know when Dorothy steps out of her house into the land of Oz? That's what it looked like. That's what it felt like. The only bad part was I tasted garlic all day, and it got bad after a while. Be careful what you wish for, right? But at this point, my only problem now is I have no hearing in my left ear. So whatever is bobbling around in my sinuses and my ear with my vertigo and my inner ear and my sense of taste and my congestion and my whatever, it's now moved strictly to my left ear. So when my left ear clears up, and I know it will, I will be back to 100%, which has been almost 2 months in the making. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. This has been such a weird road to go down. This is for Luna, Josie, and Austin. If you're listening to this in the far-off future, I wouldn't wish this on anybody, kids. I know you guys think I've been crazy because I haven't been able to taste anything. I haven't been eating. And when I do eat, it's weird because I don't care what it tastes like. This is so strange. This is so weird. But I'm back a little bit, almost full. So thanks for checking out this episode. Go watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And if you have a copy of El Royale, the DVD does make a good coaster, if nothing else. Or you could hang it in your yard, and the sparkle side of the DVD might attract birds, and you could feed them. So I'm Jeff Tucker, and this is 91 Reasons. KHJ.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?
Listen, I'd gladly take your message because the residents aren't available right now. But on second thought, you better leave it on this machine. You see, it's raining outside and I have no choice. I've got to go and dance. Sorry. La 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 la.
Sorry about your barn.